Hello, my name is Reikai, and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about something that's been a constant heated discussion in the news and social media. A constant back and forth of who's the most racist and who did what, and I've been waiting for at least enough information to come out to have a confident opinion on this instead of just going based off of all the shit talking retards all over social media. I wanted to wait till there was actual physical evidence that could be shown. It's still not a lot, but it certainly is a lot more than what has been going around. So if you don't live underneath a rock, I'm sure you've heard about the Carmelo Anthony case. You know, the young other kid who killed another kid at a track meet, stabbed him in the heart. People are claiming he was being bullied or something. Other people are saying he was somewhere he wasn't supposed to be and was asked to leave and then got violent. Anyway, let's actually get into some actual evidence and let's actually have a rational, non-emotionally driven view on this. And obviously, my opinion is you kill somebody, you go to jail. It's really just that simple. Like, even if it's an accident, like, you get into a fight, like road rage on the street, you punch somebody in the chin a little bit too hard, they hit the ground and they die, you still go to jail for that because, unfortunately, you still killed somebody. It's not called murder, it's called manslaughter, but at the end of the day, you killed somebody, there's consequences. Doesn't matter, I don't give a fuck what your skin color is. You do something violent and antisocial that ends another person's life, you should be held accountable and go to jail for that. It's pretty simple. Anyway, let's get into this video. Already, right off the bat, we got a progressive pastor, so you already know this is going to be interesting. Right.
I'm a pastor. Of course, I believe that all lives matter, but right now, black lives are the ones under attack.
Right.
Really? Is that so? I mean, I don't know. The last time I checked in the last 10 years, the only people that were really attacking black people were other black people. I've personally done nothing bad against any other group of people unless they did something bad towards me, and even then, you know, it was a couple little fisticuffs, you know, bonk bonk, you shake hands, you move on, right? Like nothing major. But it seems like one thing happens and suddenly it's a race war now, guys. Like, and what makes me laugh about this whole situation is it's not even a white kid that killed a black kid that's causing this, and yet for some reason white people are being blamed for it. Yeah, you're being systematically oppressed while you stab us. Cute. Anyway.
Right.
Obviously, don't clip that out of or take that out of context. I don't think it's okay to kill anybody. You have no right to go out of your way to take someone else's life away. I don't care what your skin color is, what your political beliefs are. I don't give a flying fuck. It doesn't matter to me. If you can't handle being in a civilized society without committing murder or assaulting people, you don't deserve to be in a society. It's just that's it. If you have to commit antisocial, violent behavior because you're unable to contain yourself, I don't want you here. Get the fuck out of here.
All lives matter, but the black ones matter more. Not Asian.
Yeah, and this always made me laugh too. It's like the whole Black Lives Matter thing and then the whole people saying all lives matter thing. Both were fucking stupid as shit. Yeah, obviously everybody's life matters. We knew this, but it was always so interesting how fucking absolutely insanely mad people got when you tried to twist it on them. You're like, okay, that's nice. Yeah, Black Lives Matter. So does my life. Your life matters the same as mine does. And then they'd be like, how dare you say things like that? You just want to kill black people. And it's like, what? Anyway, that whole time's passed. I just kind of wanted to reminisce about that stupid shit. Because now we're doing some new stupid shit.
lives, Mexican lives, Indian lives, Middle Eastern lives.
Oh yeah, yeah, and by the way, apparently black people are on the top of the totem pole and their lives matter more than every other culture on the planet. Remember that. The next time something happens in the news, that remember, black people are the most important people in the world now. They deserve the highest privilege over every other life on this planet. It doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, Asian, East Indian, white, whatever. Nope. Only black people matter, guys. That's it. The rest of us, we are only living in their shadow. And yet everybody else is the racist one. Interesting. Yeah, that's cute. Anyway.
Lives or white lives. None of those have a more important struggle than the black one. Mm-hmm. Is anyone tired of this yet? Is anyone tired of the female pastor with the LGBTQ?
No, give me a fucking break. Man, you know how people make jokes about how pastors like to touch children? I'm not going to get into that, but it's pretty fucking crazy that you're combining both worlds. You're just like, you know what? This lady just got up one day and was like, yeah, she's a pedophile. Might as well wear both the pastor outfit and the LGBT outfit. Fuck it, right? Anyway, sorry. Bigotry, I know.
Sash and her openly racist tier of which race matters the most? I think people actually are.
Yeah, it's super weird that these people sit here and they have like a tier list of which cultures' lives matter more than other cultures. Do you have any idea how racist that makes you sound? You have a tier list of who you think deserves to live more. You're a fucking racist. Shut the fuck up.
Especially when it comes to BLM, because some of the most outspoken people against Black Lives Matter right now are actually black people.
BLM is a scam. It was literally a scam.
Yeah, and then the funny thing is, the people who are still getting mad about this will say that these aren't real black people now. And it's just like, what are you talking about? Everybody, including your own culture, is saying, chill the fuck out, cut this race-baiting, self-victimizing narrative bullshit that is causing everybody in society a fucking headache, causing you to look like a bunch of idiots, and causing everybody else to waste their fucking time dealing with your bullshit instead of dealing with real problems.
Had bought mansions and...
Now, BLM didn't start with this, but they are probably...
And they always pick the best heroes, too. They always bring their best.
Probably the most famous right now for defending George Floyd and causing massive riots over a guy who was about to drive while intoxicated on fentanyl.
Yep. And I'm going to say something that's going to make people real fucking mad. People were so ready to virtue signal for this shit. And the same people that were doing that don't care, and we're all laughing at them, and we call this the stupidest fucking bunch of bullshit to ever have happened. And we're going to be saying the same thing about the Carmelo Anthony case in 5 years from now. We're all going to look back and be like, man, we were fucking stupid.
No. If you actually watch the arrest video, which it seems like nobody who supports BLM did, he is very obviously on drugs and could have easily fallen asleep at the wheel and plowed his car into multiple people. Most importantly, none of the drama would have even happened if he wasn't very actively resisting arrest in the face of cops who are trying to accommodate him.
Could you please crack it for me, please?
Yes, I'll crack it.
Stay with me, man.
I will.
Please stay with me, man. Thank you.
Listen.
Dang, man.
Listen.
I'm not that kind of guy.
I'll roll the windows down
Please,
and you put your legs in, all right? I'll put the air on.
Stop.
So because of the relentless false narratives, open and belligerent racism against white people, and the physical damage from riots that's been...
Yeah, don't forget, I caused this, apparently. Apparently, all us white people gave him drugs, got him behind the wheel of a vehicle, and told him to drive. I guess it was us. Man. Crazy how we do these things. I don't know how we get it done. It's insane. Weird. Uh-oh. You know, we put another black guy full of fentanyl and methamphetamines behind a car. Ha 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 ha. Crazy white people and their shenanigans. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Shut up.
been done to many different communities, more and more people are starting to reject all of the race baiting that traditionally has worked very well. And proof of this comes in the form of...
The reason it's worked super well is because the loud minority of insane psychopaths who virtue signal for this shit make everybody else super uncomfortable and afraid to say anything against it, because what they'll do is they'll just systematically destroy their life, and nobody wants to fucking deal with this, man. It's like, you think you're gonna lose your job over some fucking psycho Karens who work at your workplace? No, fuck that, man. Don't even want to fucking deal with them, let alone have them try to integrate themselves into your life and ruin it. Like, fuck off. These people are so stupid and insane that nobody wanted to fucking deal with them, and now we're just exhausted with it.
Of an event that BLM and other forces are trying to turn into a race war. Which brings us to a track meet in Frisco, Texas on Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025. A 17-year-old high school student named Carmelo Anthony stabbed and killed another 17-year-old named Austin Metcalf. After this happened, a Give Send Go fundraiser was made to help with Carmelo's legal defense.
Yeah, and this was clearly done with the intent to spark outrage. This was clearly done with the intent to weaponize racism. This was clearly done with the intent to get reactions out of white people so that they can be like, see, white people are just a bunch of racist fucks. Meanwhile, anybody with any common sense or rational thought can clearly see the audacity of this. You kill somebody and then try to go raise $500,000 while most of your donations are calling for the ethnic cleansing of a group of people? Can we call a spade a fucking spade? Like, shit, guys, what are we doing?
And it raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, with supporters of Carmelo and BLM activists not only saying a bunch of racist shit and approving of the murder, but also saying that Carmelo is innocent of wrongdoing because the stabbing was self-defense. Now, I agree.
And remember that statement. I've been seeing a lot of people trying to claim it was self-defense without any actual evidence to support that statement. Well, we're going to find out, because I've looked into this a bit, and I'm pretty sure this guy has the same documents that I've seen of people saying quite the opposite. But we'll get into that. I want it to actually be on the screen before I actually talk about it, because people are super quick to be like, source? Like, fuck.
Agree that everyone deserves their day in court, and Carmelo deserves due process.
Yes.
However,
and yes, I kind of completely agree with that. Everybody deserves a day in court. Carmelo Anthony, just like anybody else in this society, deserves their due process. Whatever the judgment is, which is probably going to end in jail time, we all have to accept that, because that's the due process. You're a citizen of this country, you do something fucking shitty and stupid, you get your chance in court to argue it, and that's just the way it goes.
After reading the police report, the likelihood that this will qualify as self-defense in court is almost zero. I'll be adding some extra context to the report, but here it is. There was a light drizzle outside during the track meet, and the officer reported that Carmelo was under a tent that was designated for a different school. Because of that, Austin Metcalf...
So he was somewhere he wasn't supposed to be. For one. So he interjected himself in the situation to begin with, which is already pretty suspicious in the argument of self-defense. You're somewhere you're not supposed to be. Sounds like you're up to something a little bit suspicious, first of all. Second of all, why are you there? What possible business did you have being underneath this tent to begin with? Why is that something that's not being answered? Clearly you weren't being bullied if you put yourself into the situation to begin with.
Metcalf, the victim, and his brother Hunter Metcalf.
That'd be like me walking up to a group of people that look really mean and obviously don't want me to be there, and then trying to start something with them, and then crying victim when I get my ass beat. Why was I there to begin with? Who knows? Probably because I was fucking stupid.
Asked Carmelo to leave. Carmelo refused to leave and responded by saying, "Touch me and see what happens." After continuing to refuse...
So he was somewhere he wasn't supposed to be. started picking a fight when asked to leave. And you're trying to claim he was being bullied. That's not usually how that works. Usually bullies come after you. You don't go up to them and then tell them, swing on me.
To leave. At some point, Carmelo is pushed by the victim, Austin, and then he follows up by saying, punch me.
Yeah. Fuck, has nobody ever been in high school before or what? Some stupid ass kid shows up to a place he's not supposed to be, starts acting like a fucking thug. You're gonna do a little bit of like, back the fuck off, man. You know, you're kids. You're gonna fucking poke and prod at each other, and usually teachers will step in before it gets too violent. Have we all not done this? Have we all never been in a situation where someone is being confrontational with you when you're getting a little bit pissed off and you're being like, all right, you know what? Back off. Get out of my fucking space. And then you get ready to start doing this, and then usually it gets de-escalated. It didn't even reach that point. Apparently, according to this, Carmelo Anthony showed up to a tent where he wasn't supposed to be, when asked to leave, said, touch me, see what happens. Obviously, the victim pushed him away, like, bro, you need to go. And then that's when he just got fucking stabbed. Like, how is this self-defense? You showed up to a place you weren't supposed to be, started some shit, and then when you got asked to leave, you fucking killed somebody in cold blood. Man, it's going to be hard to argue in court as self-defense.
And see what happens. Last, Carmelo stabs Austin Metcalf, runs away, and ditches the murder weapon. Now, there are a couple of different versions of the story with slight alterations, so I'll let Austin's brother Hunter, who was standing right next to him, say what happened.
Your mom told me that you were there.
Yes, ma'am.
If you don't mind, what happened?
There was this kid, before I knew his name now, this kid was sitting under our tent at track. We asked him to move. He started getting aggressive and talking reckless. And my brother stepped in and said, you need to move. And he's like, make me move. Austin grabbed his backpack. The kid, I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see the stab. And I look at my brother, and I'm not going to talk about the rest. So
Yeah.
that's just what I saw.
So to argue for self-defense in Texas, your life has to be in immediate danger. Now, the BLM types will point out that the two Metcalf brothers were quite a bit larger than Carmelo, and that's why his life was in danger.
What? You put yourself in that situation to begin with. And who says that just because someone's a little bigger than you, they're going to get violent with you? What kind of fucking stupid-ass argument is that? You showed up. Put yourself in a situation with people that are bigger than you are, apparently, and then you go and start picking a fight with them, and now you're crying victim? What? No, come on. This really isn't the argument they're trying to go with. Oh, well, they were bigger than him. That's why his life was in danger. No, his life wasn't in danger. He put himself in that situation, and then he was the one who initiated violence. And then finished it. He started the story, and then he finished the story. That's not self-defense. That's an attack.
Danger. However, this happened in broad daylight and a ton of people were around, and the Metcalf brothers showed no intent of using heavy or lethal force.
There was never a punch even thrown. So I don't care. There was never a phone broken. We've never had contact with this individual ever.
Not only that, but let's bring up that statue to...
Okay, so there apparently was no history of knowing this kid either, so to claim that this Carmelo kid was getting bullied by the victim sounds like they don't even know who the fuck this kid was before they stabbed him in the heart.
Again. In the law, it says that if you provoke the person who you used lethal force against, which Carmelo reportedly did, then you can't claim it's self-defense. So
yeah, how are you going to claim self-defense if you walk up to somebody and start getting in their face and getting violent, and then you kill them? That's not that. Holy shit, bro. Like, this just gets dumber and dumber the further we read more into this. Yeah, I had to defend myself because I went up to somebody, beat, and started getting violent with them, so I had to kill them. What?
So, in my amateur internet lawyer opinion, Carmelo is screwed. You don't get to stab someone because they picked up your bag and pushed you after you asked them to put hands on you. I mean, if someone got stabbed every time a kid was pushed when I was in school, then at least half the student population wouldn't have lived to see graduation.
Doesn't make any.
Fucking exactly. Like I said before, you're a fucking teenager. You're young. You're full of testosterone, man. Like, we fucking argue. We fucking push each other around. Sometimes we smack each other a couple times. If people killed each other every time that happened, there would have at least been 500 dead kids in my school. What the fuck are you talking about? There wasn't even a punch thrown. You were asked to leave. You were like, yo, let's go. You fucking touch me, see what happens. So, you know, bro was like, I could totally see this altercation happening in my head right now. Just some fucking asshole shows up to your tent, starts acting like a fucking tough guy, so you're gonna fucking try to push him away and get him away from the situation. Then he just fucking stabs you right in the fucking chest. Like, what the fuck?
Any sense. I mean, that's my. Just because the kid was mad, my son is not here anymore, and I don't understand it.
Right, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, and the worst part is, not only do this family have to deal with their kid being dead, but a bunch of fucking psychos on the internet who are blaming them for their kid being dead. Apparently, this family got swatted too. That's great, man. I can only imagine what it's like to live in the shoes and the head of the people who do stuff like this. Like, how can you pat yourself on the shoulder knowing that you're such a inhumane monster? Anyway.
Like, he was looking for a fine...
Sorry, I didn't... Now I'm playing their game where I'm getting emotional and I'm emotionally blackmailing. Sorry, my bad. We don't play that game here. I didn't mean to do that. We look at the facts. We don't play emotional blackmail.
Or looking to steal people's unprotected items like this commenter said. He ended up causing that fight and then used lethal force because he was mad. And now not only is this 17-year-old kid permanently scarred from having to watch his twin brother die while frantically trying to keep him alive, but Carmelo also emotionally scarred everyone close to Austin Metcalf.
My other son is just crushed. And I feel for him now, and he'll never be the same. None of us will. Grief, we all go through it, but the thing about grief is you don't get over it. You just learn to live with it.
Yeah, I don't think you ever really get over your son dying or your brother dying or your best friend dying. I've known plenty of people who've had those they were close to die, and they still aren't over it like a decade later or more. So understand why a lot of people are outraged that Carmelo's school still wants to allow him to graduate, despite the fact that
Wait, how is he going to graduate? I thought he was going to court and stuff and going to jail. So now we're giving murderers special treatment so that they can get a diploma? And you wonder why people are getting outraged when you can see the clear writing on the wall of what is obviously happening right in front of your face, and you're being told you can't see it. You're being told if you see it, you're a racist, bigot, Nazi, whatever the fuck. While these people go around doing whatever the fuck they want. Now they're killing people, and now we're told if we call it out, we're the fucking problem. No, shut the fuck up.
even if he did get off with the self-defense charge, which he almost certainly won't, he still brought a weapon to school and started a fight, which is easy grounds for expulsion. Why should he get to graduate after breaking school rules when Austin Metcalf will never get to graduate?
Well, I'll tell you. It was mentioned at the beginning of the video. Because poor black people being systematically oppressed by the big scary white guy you see right here. So he had to go out of his way to pick a fight with them and stab him in the chest. Because this guy was clearly oppressing his people. And the black struggle. Oh, the black struggle. Give Give me a fucking break, man. These people are trying to weaponize something that happened hundreds of years ago, trying to tell us that we should feel bad for what our ancestors did. We don't live in that time anymore. We all live in a time where we can respect each other, but we don't. You choose not to. That's the difference. And we choose not to tolerate it. And like, yeah, ooh, white guy talking about being racist. Your family probably owned a slave. Actually, I got some news for you. One of my great-grandparents was a slave. My family never owned slaves. So, unfortunately, that type of argumentation doesn't work on me. You're not going to be able to guilt trip me into feeling bad for being a colonizer. Hate to break it to you, but my ancestry goes very, very poor. And a lot of the people in my ancestry were slaves.
And so, because Carmelo is almost certainly guilty of murder, unless there's some info that we're unaware of, the racial grift must begin to try to beat the charges. And the grift is quite ridiculous. I mean, Carmelo and his legal team are some of the dumbest criminals on the planet.
Yeah, not to mention, this guy's lawyer's got a rap sheet like this fucking long, bro. One of his charges is him assaulting a toddler. This is the guy you're having defend your entire race of people? A murderer? And a, what do you call it? A spree criminal? So what you're trying to tell everybody is that you are just criminals then. And you want us to just accept the fact that you should be allowed to do criminal things. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's exactly what it looks and sounds like from my standpoint.
You can read the full police report where it says that an officer called Carmelo the alleged suspect, followed by Carmelo spontaneously saying, "I'm not alleged, I did it." Literally.
So he admitted it while he was being arrested. It's going to be really hard to argue self-defense with that.
Confessed to a murder right in front of the police. Even worse for Carmelo's defense, his family picked some black activist lawyer named Dominic Alexander, who I swear is just like that race-grifting character from that episode of the Boondocks, where they tried to bully the school for $500,000 because a teacher said the N-word.
I have a message for the Woodcrest School District.
Bravo, good love. What's that two-bit hustler doing here?
You have assaulted
They brought the motherfucking Boondocks. Oh.
their pride and you have hurt their feelings. Now, somebody gonna pay.
Don't listen to him, Granddad. He just wants to use us to get press for a stupid sitcom on BET.
The scary thing is that this episode of the Boondocks is almost 20 years old, and it still applies like it was written yesterday. So Carmelo's lawyer and his activist group hold this press conference to, I guess, give everyone a more positive outlook on the defendant. Let's take a look.
Y'all, I'm Minister Dominic Alexander. I serve as the president of the Next Generation Action Network. Today I come before you with a heavy heart, but determined in spirit, not just as an advocate.
Heavy heart? What, did you steal a car and beat up a toddler before you came to this speech?
But as a black man, black people in America don't have to pull the race card. I ain't pulling no race card.
That's exactly what you're doing. It's literally in the comments under your GoFundMe. You said it.
I live it. I'm reminded all the time that I'm a black man in America.
I mean, if you don't...
Yeah, and the only one who reminds you of that is yourself. I don't know about you, but anytime I ever hear the, "I'm always reminded I'm a black man," it's always coming from a black man. Okay, so if it's such a problem, quit reminding yourself then. I mean, you could just live like a civilized person like the rest of us and not have to constantly try to put yourself up on a cross that nobody wants to put you on other than yourself. Okay, I have to... Oh, everybody tells me I'm a black man. No, I don't think they do. That's just something that doesn't happen. Sorry. This isn't the 1950s, bro.
you don't want to be reminded of your race, then maybe you shouldn't open up your speech with, as a black man, as you use this press conference to promote your race-based activist group.
This is not just about Carmelo. It's about the family who dared to stand and demand justice in a return and receive ugliness that racism in this country still breeds.
Yes. Standing for justice after you execute someone Aztec style in front of hundreds of people, and then when people want to put you in jail for that, it's racism. Right. Good one.
As the president of the Next Generation Action Network, we will never ask the oppressor for permission to liberate our people. We are not scared. We are not moving.
That's very obvious. Yeah, you were definitely not scared. You were very open with your audacity.
Wait, did I just hear a smoke detector beep?
We are not moving.
Anyway, I love how the family of the killer's immediate legal strategy is to poison the culture into a race war in the hopes of getting special treatment from the legal system. Real generous of you to not only harm the Metcalfs with this event, but also the entirety of America. You guys are real
I almost feel like there should be a hate crime added on top of these murder charges for having weaponized racism in this way. Could you imagine if you had reversed the roles and a white family was trying to do this and saying black people were just racist for killing their son and then trying to get a bunch of money out of it? How does that not come across as a hate crime? You are actively trying to destroy someone of a different race after you did something to them, and you want to do more harm because of race. I don't know, man. This is borderlining some hate, some very, very close hate crime ass shit, man.
assholes. This is despite the fact that Austin's father, Jeff Metcalf, who was actually a victim, who was actually wronged, and has been swatted multiple times over this event, went on the news.
Damn, not just once. He's been swatted multiple times? Again, why are these people not in jail? You swat somebody? I thought that was a federal crime. Get these fucking people in jail.
Earlier, before this press conference, saying that he didn't want to escalate this by making it about race.
This is not a race issue. This is not a black and white issue. I don't want someone stepping up on the...
No, and even the father didn't want to make it a race issue. It is entirely Carmelo Anthony and his community that is trying to make it a race issue. It is entirely the minority of absolutely violent black people, and I say minority because I do not want to combine them all into one group. There is only a small portion of them that are doing this. There are plenty of them talking out about it. It is the people that are the bad actors that need to be punished.
Soapbox trying to politicize this. I've already forgiven the person who stabbed him. God's going to take care of everything. And if we all don't come together, black, white, yellow, brown, I don't care. It's all about human beings.
Wow, I don't know how many visits to a church it takes to get that kind of peaceful mentality, but if it was my kid, I wouldn't have been so nice. Actually, Jeff Metcalf happened to show up to the Carmelo press conference, so I guess...
And I agree with the father of the deceased. I completely agree. We all need to come together and hold each other accountable equally. No more of this special treatment. No more of this one group of person deserves to live more than the other group of people. We are not our ancestors. We are not our grandparents. We are not our parents. We are our own people. We all live in a different time period now, and bringing this shit back up just because you want your turn with the whip is absolutely ludicrous. And yet they're the ones sitting here saying that you should be the change you want to see. Why don't you actually fucking take the advice you spew out of your radical mouth?
Let's break bread and pray with them in the hopes of making peace and showing unity. But of course, Carmelo's team's legal strategy is to increase division, So they didn't want Jeff Metcalf
Of course.
there, and Carmelo's lawyer handles his presence at the conference in the worst possible way.
What we seen.
Well, yeah, because if he's there saying these things, making peace, it completely destroys their narrative. They need this narrative to push and weaponize racism, and if the father of the kid they killed isn't trying to push for this, it completely destroys everything they're saying and makes them look like fucking... makes them look like the bad actors. That's why they're actively trying to silence him. It's so fucking pathetic, man. These people so badly want to see white people as racist because they know deep in their hearts it is they who have the hate and racism, not us.
At the beginning of this press conference, the father being at this press conference is a disrespect to the dignity of his son. Next Generation Action Network.
Right. Don't forget to plug the name of your organization 20 more times while the camera...
Bro's backpedaling now. I will say, he's a good lawyer because he's a very good liar.
Cameras are rolling.
From the beginning, has respected the loss of life. And all I'm going to say...
That's a weird way of doing it.
Is that was disrespectful. He was not invited. He knows that it's inappropriate to be near this family. But he did.
Really? Well, why didn't you teach your psycho kid that it was inappropriate to go near their family and kill them? I don't know, I feel like if you started there, this whole thing could have been avoided.
We were asking him repeatedly to leave. And literally, he wouldn't even talk. He wouldn't even say anything. He felt like he could just stand there. It was very upsetting to me.
Now, what I find curious about this...
Oh, man. He was standing there, not saying a word, not causing any problems. I'm so oppressed. Oh, I'm so upset. Oh, I'm such a victim. Bro was just there to see what you were saying. Probably just wanted to say what he was saying to the press and just want to move past all this so they can go and mourn their son. This is crazy, man. This is so much worse than I thought it was. I thought it was just going to be like, okay, you know, we get the evidence. The more information that seems to be coming out about this just makes Carmelo Anthony look so much worse. And it makes the people defending this behavior just look like absolute psychos.
This year, it's how the victim's father was asked to leave the area.
And I bet it makes them so mad that the parents of the kid they killed is not acting like the villains they wanted them to be. And let me tell you, when you're in these types of situations, when someone is trying to race bait you, this is the best way to deal with it because they want a reaction. They want proof that what they believe deep in their heart is true because it makes them feel better about themselves.
He was able to do that without killing anyone. The irony here is just great. But anyway, this press conference is full of Carmelo's family playing the victim, trying to increase racial tension, and telling a number of lies.
Yeah.
Here's a lie that I found to be the most ridiculous while they're...
It's funny how the assailants are playing victim way harder than the actual victims are. This is like borderline victim blaming to a T.
They were talking about Carmelo's right to a trial.
He should be afforded the same rights that Kyle Rittenhouse had. Nobody in the public media has one video camera.
Yeah, no one was arguing that, bro. He'll get his due process, just like everybody else. I don't know why... Oh, hang on, sorry. I don't know why he's saying that he's not going to get his due process. Everybody who isn't an insane radical agrees that yes, just like anybody else, he deserves to go to court and have due process. Again, it's just more bullshit.
But we got the video of Kyle Rittenhouse with an AK-47 shooting 3 people in the back. We got that. And he raised more than $2 million publicly, and nobody said anything.
Oh no, people said a lot about that actually. It just wasn't weaponized as you guys are trying to make it. People were pissed about that. So now you're just trying to do the same thing. Yeah, except with the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, they weren't on stage playing up on this fucking soapbox. What a bunch of snakes, man.
I mean, I agree that Carmelo deserves his day in court and deserves to argue in his defense, but that statement about Kyle Rittenhouse was so factually inaccurate that they should have fired that lawyer right on the spot for saying it. Not only did he say the wrong gun, but Kyle shot 3 people in the back? Bro, there is literally evidence of the first guy threatening to kill Kyle with a weapon before he was shot. You also have video of Kyle being chased and violently assaulted by a mob, and you have Gage Grosskreutz testifying in court that he had a loaded...
Right. Sorry. I forget what I said before. Yeah, so you're going to chase someone down who's holding a rifle and try to beat him up, and then you're going to cry victim when you get shot. Again, it's just these bad actors who want to go out and commit antisocial violent behavior with no actual consequences to their actions. Trying to tell the rest of us that we're the problem when we see it.
Firearm aimed at Kyle before he...
And just like Kyle Rittenhouse, Carmelo Anthony is going to be in jail. That's how this ends.
He was shot.
Mr. Grosskreutz, I'm going to show you what has been marked as Exhibit 67. That's a photo of you, yes?
Yes.
Okay. That's Mr. Rittenhouse?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you'd agree your firearm is pointed at Mr. Rittenhouse, correct?
Yes.
Okay. When you were standing 3 to 5 feet from him with your arms up in the air, he never fired, right?
Correct.
It wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him, with your gun, now your hands down, pointed at him, that he fired, right?
Correct.
After I heard Carmelo's lawyer say that stuff about Kyle, I just started laughing. You can't get something that factually wrong and call yourself a lawyer. You'll get destroyed in a courtroom. But good news for everyone who wants justice for Austin Metcalf, though I guess all this makes sense when you consider that this lawyer has been arrested multiple times, one of them being for violently abusing and hospitalizing a 2-year-old, so Carmelo's family literally...
Yeah. These people are using someone who beat up a 2-year-old as their justice warrior. Again, it's the clear, audacious ridiculousness of it all.
picked the worst possible man to argue in his defense.
My name is Kayla Hayes. I am...
And again, I think this was all intended to pick the most crazy, audacious things in order to spark a reaction out of people, so it makes it seem like they're actually the victims here and everybody else is attacking them. Toddlers do this all the time.
The mother of Carmelo Anthony. He's been raised in a 2-parent home with structure, stability, love, and we put God first in everything that we do.
Okay, then why is he going around picking fights with random people, stabbing them? Just saying. So what you're even if what you said was true, that just means that he's a absolute psychopath, and it just means he belongs in jail even more, or at least somewhere in a white jacket in a padded room. He was raised to be a good boy. And then he executed someone Aztec style. So either you didn't raise him properly or he's just absolutely brain broken.
He's really from a 2-parent home with stability. Why do you have different last names? Something's being left out here.
Okay,
also,
yeah,
why
already.
do you look like you're under 30 with a 17-year-old? How old were you when you had him? Lots of questions here. Anyway, again, more and more people are getting really tired of everything being called racist, especially when that's being used to cover up a crime. And because of that, a situation that happened on the week of April 28th, 2025, involving a white woman named Shiloh Hendricks, became a huge event because she was recorded in a park saying some offensive words. Now understand that in order to make this next video YouTube friendly, I have to censor some stuff, so know that anytime that the audio is cut, it's because the end.
Yeah, and again, most rational people will agree that what this white woman did too was pretty fucking stupid. But I can also see why she did it. She's just copying what they were doing. But I'm also not going to agree that calling someone a word is the same as killing somebody. Both are bad, and both should be punished, yes. But both should be punished equally to the severity of the crime. And both should not be raising money. Like, come on, guys. What are we doing here? Oh.
N-word is being said.
Did you call him the child? Did you call the child?
Also, by the way, I don't know if he's going to mention it in the video. The gentleman recording here, and I say that, I'm saying that with a straight face as hard, is apparently a guy who's been, he's also not there with anybody. He's also been under charges for a Diddy special, aka sexually assaulting a minor. And he's just loitering around a playground. I don't know. Again, why is it every time we're having this conversation, the people they're choosing to be their martyrs are always just the worst bad actors? And then they find one example of a crazy trailer trashy white chick who called some kid the N-word, and now this is oh god, this is worse than killing somebody. No, it's not. Yes, calling people racial slurs is fucking bad, and it shouldn't be. Obviously, hate crime. Charge her with a hate crime. Let's get it over and fucking done with. He goes to jail for murder. She gets a charge for saying a hate crime, or hate speech, and we all move the fuck on. And we all agree to hold people accountable for their actions and stop with this preferential treatment, and maybe keep an eye on people that shouldn't be wandering around a kids park, who probably shouldn't be there. Like, it's just like everything, man. It's just all over the place.
The word? It is my own business. You call him an idiot? Okay, why don't you have the boss to say it right now again? Huh?
I love how the guy's big issue was that the N-word was said in front of children, as he immediately proceeds to not only say the N-word a number of times, but also encourages the woman to repeat the word.
Yeah, it's okay if he says it though, right? It's them taking the word back. And then, oh, what are you, some kind of bitch? Say it again, pussy! You said it again! Like, you just gonna sit there and antagonize someone? Of course they're gonna fucking do it again. What are you, stupid? Fuck.
Alright, that's what you say. Nobody dig into your shit. That little kid, you call him a the little child?
And honestly, I genuinely believe that this actual interaction between this woman and the guy recording probably stopped this guy from snatching up someone's kid. But instead he saw an opportunity to be a hero.
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the...
Why is he saying you're going to hit him? Where in this entire altercation was there any violence? Why is it that these insane retards always go to be like, oh, you going to hit him? You going to hit me? You want to fight? Oh! He fought me! Oh! Yeah, you antagonize people and you start threatening them, they're probably going to fucking hit you. Duh. She was trying to walk away. She was trying to leave the situation. This guy's following around with his fucking phone out. You gonna hit him? You gonna hit him? You gonna hit him? No. You keep asking, though, it might happen. Shut the fuck up.
But I have to call the child 5-year-old and the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
You know, that's a hate speech. And you can be recorded for that.
Yeah, and I agree with the guy recording. That is hate speech. And she should be charged with it. She shouldn't have done a fundraiser. Yeah, we should be that's all that had to happen from this. We hold people accountable for their actions. Boom. All these problems go away. She gets charged with hate speech. Carmelo Anthony goes to jail for murder. We don't fundraise money for bad actors. We don't try to weaponize racism all the fucking time for stupid bullshit like this. The world would be such a better place.
Yes, you can definitely be recorded if you say something in public. However, hate speech is not a thing in America, and contrary to what social media is trying to get everyone to believe, saying the N-word is not illegal. This guy better hope it's not, because he said it a bunch of times. Unless he's saying that laws should apply differently based on race, and I could have sworn...
That's exactly what he's saying. These bad actors, they want the law to not pertain to them for obvious reasons. They want to go around doing all this bad shit, saying bad things to people, and they don't want it to be held against them. They only want it to be held against you.
that America went through a whole civil rights movement to make such things illegal. Anyway, what happened was that a black child tried to take something from this lady Shiloh's bag, and in retaliation, she called him the N-word. Now, is it wrong to call a kid a racial slur? Of course it is. Is it illegal?
Yeah, we can all agree.
I'm not a lawyer, but probably not. Kids get called names all the time by adults, and I don't think that...
And you could also argue that a person on trial for a sexual offense wandering around a kid's park is far more illegal than calling someone the N-word. Again, the straw man things they try to fucking use against... It's crazy, man.
People are being arrested left and right for that. The cops are more concerned with did you hit them or engage in extreme verbal abuse like screaming or threatening them. Now, should Shiloh receive harsh criticism for doing this? Absolutely. If it was my kid she called a racial slur, I would be pretty mad. However,
Yeah,
I don't
obviously.
think it's a crime. But as I said, the video went viral.
Yeah, and if that was my kid too, I probably would have walked up to her and called her a ratchet bitch. I still would have let her walked away. Wouldn't have recorded her and like tried to start a whole race war over it. I'd be like, you gonna call my kid this thing? Oh, fuck you, you trailer trashy bitch. Get the fuck out of here. Bam, that's it. Now we're even. Now we can all both walk away and not have to do whatever this was.
Viral, and the internet ended up doxing her address, her phone number, and much worse, leaked.
Yeah, as usual, the bad actors on the internet who don't understand how social interactions work in the real world take something like this and try to systematically destroy someone's life without realizing that there were real victims in this. But somehow that's okay because she called some kid a bad word. So now her kid has to potentially be attacked. Interesting.
Her social security number. I imagine that this was also compounded by lots of threats because that's what usually happens in these cases. And so Shiloh started a Give Send Go campaign on May 1st to help her.
Yeah, and people like to sit here and say, oh, well, it's just shit-talking retards on the internet. They're never going to actually act on it. Well, we just recently had a situation where somebody actually acted on the threats they make online, and now we have two Israeli people who are dead. One of the basement-dwelling Reddit mods who watch Hassan Piker finally got radicalized enough to leave his fucking cave and execute two innocent people while chanting Free Palestine. Yeah, I'm sure Palestine loves knowing that some fucking nerdy-ass little loser white kid is executing innocent people on their behalf. Get the fuck out of here. There is 100%. The more you allow people to act like this on the internet, there's going to be more instances of fucking retards actually acting on that violence. I've been saying it for years. You're going to have 99.9% of these people who are just a bunch of fucking pussies behind a screen, acting like a bunch of tough guys, sending death threats. It takes that 0.1% to act on it, and then somebody's fucking dead. Sorry, I kind of went on a tangent there and off topic. Let's continue.
Pay for some of the expenses of having all her information leaked. My name is Shiloh, and I've been put in a very dire situation. I recently had a kid steal from my 18-month-old son's diaper bag at a park. I called the kid out for what he was. Okay, so I don't think anyone's denying that this lady is at least a little bit racist, but trying to...
Yeah. And again, if she's not allowed to do this, then neither should Carmelo Anthony. Either both are allowed to or both are not allowed to. That's all I care about.
Ruin a woman's entire life and threaten her safety because a word was said is inappropriate. Think of all the non-white people who constantly say racist shit and they receive no consequences at all. Think of stuff like this children's book here that teaches anti-white racism to kids, or this social experiment that British television did that...
Or the stadiums in Africa that are actually chanting for ethnic cleansing of white people in Africa, you know, take the farms back, rape the children, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, no, this has been going on for a while. And apparently we're just supposed to suck it up and take it. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. You're not going to tell me that I deserve to be raped and murdered because of something not even my ancestors did 300 years ago. Yeah, good luck with that.
Taught kids based on a racist narrative. No one is having their lives ruined over those things, so maybe just have Shiloh apologize to the child and the family and have her take a course on how to manage undesirable behavior from children without calling them racial slurs. You know, have the punishment fit the crime. But since Carmelo Anthony got hundreds of thousands of dollars on Give, Send, Go for killing a student, and he was being glorified for doing that, and because Shiloh opened up her Give, Send, Go account just a couple weeks later, in response, the internet started donating to Shiloh like crazy, and we got some competitive racism in the form of charity. We had people...
Yeah, like, this got taken way out of context. Jesus Christ. That's... I'm gonna skip past
White
this.
donating
Okay, yeah, it's
$2,000
blurred
to
out.
help spell out the N-word.
Get me fucking
and
banned.
People on Team Black were...
And yeah, again, I don't agree with the people who were doing it on Carmelo Anthony's side. I don't agree with people who are doing it on her side. This competitive racist bullshit is fucking stupid, and the people who take part in it are fucking retards. Enough. Cut this bullshit out. You're just making everybody look bad. Oh, you're virtue signaling. No, virtue signaling is when you're telling people not to do stuff that they aren't doing. This is calling out bad behavior, because people are actually doing it.
Donating to share how they were happy that Carmelo ended the life of a white kid, until Give, Send, Go removed the ability to comment on both campaigns, which pissed a lot of people off because the comments were only removed after Shiloh began her campaign, and it was like a day after. Meanwhile, people had been saying racist shit and cheering on the stabbing of a white kid for weeks on Carmelo's page. Now, I will say that these comments are probably not good for the culture. However, the suggestion here is that black people can be as racist as they want towards white people, and no one cares. Meanwhile, when similar sentiments are thrown back, it's the end of the world, and now action has to be taken.
Yeah. Racism never disappeared. It just switched hands. The KKK has just been reskinned. Literally.
This double standard is why people are mad. Both types of racism are bad, but only one gets punished. So far, Carmelo's campaign has raised $530,000, and Shiloh has raised $780,000, to which, I think in both cases, the money couldn't have gone to less deserving people.
100% agree. Both these people are pieces of shit. I don't know why we're supporting this. The people who donated are pieces of shit. She's a piece of shit. Carmelo Anthony's a piece of shit. They're all fucking pieces of shit. And when you support shit like this, you make the rest of us look like pieces of shit.
Obviously, I'm more sympathetic to Shiloh because her sin was far less severe. However, despite that the reaction to what she did was way out of line, I'm not a fan of a person being essentially rewarded with close to $1 million for doing a bad thing. But again, the reason that she got so much money is because of over a decade of unmitigated racism towards white people from the mainstream media, activists, colleges, politicians, and human resources departments. For over 10 years, people have been making some of the most evil and prejudiced accusations towards whites. However, if you say something reasonable like, hey, maybe don't drive a car while you're under the influence of fentanyl, they will have a meltdown and try to ruin your entire life. I mean,
Yep.
you had people saying shit like this on social media and nothing would happen, but if you said a man is a man on social media, then you could lose your livelihood. And the legacy media types are still trying to maintain this as...
Well, here's the thing. People can go after my livelihood all they want. I don't have any. Oh no. What are you gonna do? Get me fired for being unemployed? Oh no. Shit. Fuck, you don't even know who the hell I am. And then I'll just basically say, you know what? Yeah. Fuck. I'm just trying to speak some goddamn common sense into the world. I want people to be equally held responsible for doing bad things, not based off the color of your skin. You gonna tear my life down because of that? That says more about you than it says about me. Shit.
as the status quo. In response to the 2 fundraisers on Give, Send, Go, Piers Morgan did a panel and interviewed a co-founder of the website in a video where I can only imagine it was Piers' goal to increase racial tension.
In the case of Shiloh Hendricks,
That's exactly what I was saying at the beginning of the video. All these points... How many points on a graph do you need to draw a fucking line when it's obvious what they're trying to do? This is all intended to increase racial tension. That is the entire goal of all this. If you don't see that, I'm sorry. You might be stupid.
seems to me pretty open and shut. This is a woman on camera repeatedly using the N-word. First of all, with a 5-year-old autistic child, it seems. Then an adult who's filming her, doesn't care, is blatantly racist. Why should someone like that be allowed to raise any money on your site if, as you say, you are driven by a Christian purpose?
Well, that's a fascinating question.
Yeah, again, I agree with Piers Morgan on this. She should have been able to. Carmelo Anthony shouldn't have been able to. And if you're on the opposite side of that, if one is allowed to and the other isn't, that's also pretty fucking stupid. Either both are okay or both are not. Otherwise, it just sounds like you're a little biased. Or even racist.
I would almost flip it around. It's like if we tried to create litmus tests.
And I hate swinging the word racist around, but this is one of those situations where I'm using the word correctly. But it just seems like it has no power anymore. When you actively call out actual racism because so many people have been using the race card incorrectly, it feels like what I'm saying is just going to go on deaf ears anyways. It sucks, man. When you see real racism happening in front of you, it's hard to call it out now because of a bunch of pathetic losers who used it for every minor inconvenience. Took the power away from the word.
For everybody to come onto a platform to use it, I pretty much could guarantee nobody would pass the litmus test because the reality of humanity is that we're broken.
So you would let anybody onto your platform to raise money for anything? Is that your position?
No, the position is that there are laws that define what is legal and what isn't legal, and we adhere.
So raising money for a murder case that you committed doesn't fall under those pretenses? Interesting.
To the laws as the framework for what is and isn't allowed.
Yes, that basically should be the line for all these social media websites. In fact, in America, legally, they're supposed to behave like Give, Send, Go to retain certain protections, but the government loves to not enforce the law. So in retaliation to this very reasonable point, it looks like Pierce's team has done some research and has found that Give, Send, Go is a Christian website, and because of that, there are certain behaviors that they actually don't allow.
Well, I'll say historically, we've stood on that principle of saying we're going to allow things that we disagree with.
Okay.
And we've allowed things that we completely disagree with.
Do you allow
on the
people to
platform.
do
But our
pro-abortion?
mission-
Do you allow pro-abortion fundraising?
Actually, there's 2 caveats to what
I
Give,
think
Send,
that
Go
might have
has-
actually
has
happened.
carved
I'm not
out,
sure.
and one of them
Don't quote
is
me on that.
it's broken into 2 pieces, but it's the protection of children. So we say we're going to protect children because they don't have a voice. So we're not going to allow fundraising for abortions on Give, Send, Go, and we're not going to allow fundraising for the transition of children.
Right, he's a hip.
I mean, fair. No money for abortions and no money for transitioning.
hypocrite, which would have been a
But
great
he is still
gotcha
a
moment for
hypocrite.
Piers if it wasn't for the fact that in many states, abortion and transitioning children is a crime. In fact, it seems like Piers is not very informed on U.S. law at all.
Inciting racial
as a
hatred is a
platform.
crime, right?
Inciting.
It depends. I know in Canada, yes. Especially, you can even be put in jail for posting and saying racially hateful things online as well. In the States, not so much. And also, I've noticed that those same laws are not upheld equally either. A white person says something racist in Canada, they get arrested. A black person says something racist on the internet and nothing happens. So again, you know, it's laws for thee, laws for thee, not for me. And that's why people are getting pissed off, is because now we're just not holding people equally accountable anymore. People are getting special treatment while also acting like they are not getting it.
Racial hatred is a crime?
Yeah.
Where?
You don't think it's a crime?
In the U.S.?
Yeah, it is.
I've never seen that as a law on the books, but
It is.
That was part of the reason.
I'm not even American, and I know it's a law on the books. You're not allowed to incite racial hatred or violence against ethnic groups based on their ethnicity. What could be a more glaring example than someone on camera calling black people the N-word?
Yeah, Piers, that's not a crime. I mean, groups like Antifa and BLM and news reporters, as well as a number of U.S. senators and congressmen, better hope that's not a crime, because they're going to jail.
There's gonna be a lot of people going to jail if that's the case, because goddamn, if we had a lot of people openly inciting violence on groups of people. One of the main reasons I make these videos, too, is to point it out, and so we can hopefully have a proper conversation and stop inciting violence on each other.
If that's the case. And really, the most disgusting thing about modern social media is that you can do or say one bad thing and you're banned forever. There's no path to redemption, and if you keep it like that, eventually people are going to see no reason to be good. Everyone does something bad at some point, so I strive to make amends for any wrongdoing if people will never accept you anyway.
3 years ago in New York City, in the middle of the city, there was an altercation between a woman and a black man over bird watching and dogs, and her name was Amy Cooper. And to this day, 3 years later, she hasn't been able to find a job. Because she made a bad mistake, saying the wrong thing in a particular moment where a camera was pulled out.
She racially abused him. If you racially abuse people, you are made accountable for your actions.
So for the rest of your life, the rest of your
you
life,
know what?
you're shut off from society.
If you call black people the N-word and racially abuse them, unfortunately, yes, it has consequences, probably for your professional life,
No, I'm not saying,
for the
I'm
rest
not
of your
saying
professional
that,
life.
we understand.
To an extent, I agree with Piers Morgan on this. Like, one incident, there should be forgiveness eventually for something like that. Now, if you actively go out of your way and you do this all the time, yeah, 100% this should affect your professional life. Nobody wants to work with a racist. It's funny how there's so many openly racist people against white people that it's okay. But the second you do it to a black person, oh man. I think it should be equally... I think both should equally affect your professional life. I don't give a fuck if you're white or black. You gonna fucking treat people differently based on the color of their skin? I don't want to fucking work with you. I don't want to fucking talk to you. I don't even want to be in the same room as you. And if it were up to me, you wouldn't even be in the same society as me. But unfortunately, you can't just round people up and throw them in jail for saying racial slurs. But if you're going to condemn one, you need to condemn it all.
Understand that there are consequences. I understand there's consequences. What I'm saying is what you're advocating for, it seems, is that for the rest of Shiloh's life, she should be pushed into the recesses of society, and that she should not have a voice, that she should be canceled and silenced. This is what drives people to suicide. And it's...
This is also what stops this type of behavior. But it doesn't stop it if you only condemn it on one side. You want to stop bad behavior? You want to stop violent, antisocial behavior? Yes. You need to have extreme punishments for doing it. But when you allow one side to do it and you condemn the other, you just make it worse. Like I just said, condemn everybody who does it, not just white people. I want to see everybody held accountable for being racist. You want to be a racist piece of shit? Fine. You should be held accountable to that. And everybody should be equally condemned for doing it. Because like I said, I don't want to be in the same room as someone who hates people based off the color of their skin. Get the fuck out of here.
This cancel culture mantra that thinks that the best way forward as a society is to cancel them rather than try to bring some redemption into the situation.
Yes, the constant double standards and the lack of ability to be redeemed is driving people insane. Basically what Piers is saying is that if you do one bad thing, then you should die. Because what's the difference between saying that and telling people they have to starve because no company should ever hire them?
Well, see, the thing is, you do this with some people, and you punish a few people so severely for doing stuff like this, then other people are going to see that, and they're not going to do it anymore. But the difference is, you're only doing it to one group of people, and allowing another group of people to openly be okay with it.
This kind of mentality is exactly why Shiloh got so much money, and why she got...
If you want to live in a multicultural society, there cannot be preferential treatment for any group of people. Everybody has to be equally accountable to the same laws, the same respect, and same social norms. When you give one group of people power over others, obviously this is bad. Look at the history. It's really bad. So why are we doing this with a different group of people now? I'll tell you why. Revenge. These people want revenge for what our grandparents and ancestors did to them hundreds of years ago. That's it. And you know what they say, the road to revenge is never a good one.
Rewarded for doing something wrong. The ideas that Piers is spreading are only going to increase racism, and quite honestly, I don't think...
Yeah, and that's a good point. Sorry, I forgot to bring it up. And the more you allow this to happen, the more and more people you're going to make racist. People that aren't racist are going to see this type of behavior, and it's going to radicalize them. The only time people ever become racist to another group of people is when they have bad experiences with that group of people to a point where it's traumatizing. You see it all the time with men and women who hate each other. You see men who hate women because they had a really bad experience with an ex-girlfriend or a mother or like a sister, and now they hate women. You see women who hate men because they had a really bad boyfriend or a shitty father or a brother who did horrible things to them. People aren't inherently hateful to a group of people. Something has to happen to them in order for it to develop. All you're going to do by giving black people the ability to be racist towards white people is you're going to create an entire group of white people who are going to start being racist to black people. That's how this goes. It needs to stop.
I think these people are stupid. I think they're doing it on purpose. Instead of spending time trying to understand his opponent's perspective...
And I agree, I think it is on purpose because it's a lot easier to get revenge on a villain than someone who isn't. So if you can create a villain out of white people, it's a lot easier to get revenge on them.
Pierce spends the entire interview trying to get a gotcha moment on the Give Send Go co-founder, while completely ignoring the much worse thing that Carmelo Anthony did. All Piers does is talk about bad things that white people have done, and tries to frame the Give Send Go co-founder in the worst possible way.
I'm told that the Give Send Go site for Luigi Mangione, who we saw allegedly executing a healthcare boss in cold blood. I don't think there's much allegedly about it, but we'll let the process take its course. He's got nearly £1 million for his defence via your site. The bottom line, no, Mr. Wells, I appreciate you coming on, but the bottom line is, the reality of the situation is that if you racially abuse a kid, you can become a millionaire on your site and you won't stop it happening. And if you kill somebody or allegedly kill somebody, you won't stop that happening either. But with your Christian hat on, if somebody wants to put anything up that's pro-abortion, whoa, not having that, Gov.
To be clear, when he said murderer, he meant Luigi, not Carmelo. I mean, it's really hard to pretend that you're trying to fix racism or racial abuse when you spend an hour saying that a woman's life should be over and she should be criminally prosecuted for saying a word, while completely ignoring the guy who provoked a fight and stabbed a high schooler because he didn't want to move to a different tent. One of these is 100 times worse than the other, and giving the harshest possible criticism to the less bad thing while completely ignoring the other makes you seem like a terrible person. Oh, but I guess it's okay because it's not possible to be racist against white people, right?
You know, this idea of equating
Yeah, and this has been something people have been saying for many years now. And we used to just take it as a joke, right? Like, oh, some shit-talking retard on Twitter says it's okay to be racist to white people. Who gives a fuck what they have to say? Well, now the waters have been poisoned, and there's a lot of people who genuinely believe this, including white people themselves. People have been brainwashed into thinking that it's okay to be racist to white people just because. Some people said so. It's not okay to be racist to anybody. And don't be surprised when you got a bunch of people standing up for themselves when you do that to them. Like, fucking duh. Like, what do you mean?
Of one side to the other side often loses track of this issue of power. To use this
it's
example,
just bad
black
faith,
people
man.
Stand up and say, hey, let's build our own stuff. Hey, let's have a black power movement. When a black person says, hey, let's preserve our culture, I have no problem with Italians or Irish people or anyone else saying let's preserve our culture. But when we don't talk about ethnicity but actual race, when white people say let's preserve whiteness, it's an exclusionary practice. It's about preserving laws and practices and tactics that do harm to other people. A black power movement was about opening stores and building businesses. A white power movement was about something very, 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 very different. A white
Yeah, and that white power movement is not something most of us agree with. That was a really bad time in history. And most of us, including our parents and grandparents, thought that shit was fucked up. Again, it's just this intentional dishonesty, bad faith, straw man argument of bullshit that happened during a time that none of us were even alive for.
Black Power movement included lynchings and included Ku Klux Klan, etc. So let's not pretend that these are opposite sides of the same coin. When white people say, let's save our country, and even using language of our country, when black people built this thing, when you say that, you're talking about forcing people out of the country. You're talking about laws that discriminate. You're talking about doing harm to people.
Right, because affirmative action doesn't exist, and the summer of 2020 never happened. Racist black people have never caused a riot before, only a mostly peaceful protest. Someone in the comments pointed out that they censored every use of the N-word on Piers' show, but when white racial slurs were used, they weren't censored, which is true. They clearly think that one form of racism matters a lot less than the other, and when you have a two-tiered system like that, all you're going to do is increase racial hatred and increase racial prejudice. Also, the more you make every single negative interaction a race issue, the more the racial divide will increase. And like I said, I don't think that people like Piers or anyone else that has race scripted in this video is stupid. I think they're doing it on purpose. There's a lot of money to be made in race scripting, and from a political standpoint, the more we spend time fighting over dumb racial issues, the less we unite against corrupt politicians or corrupt business practices.
Yep. That's a really good point. You remember how people were so excited about them releasing the Diddy and Epstein list? And now suddenly nobody's talking about that anymore? It's almost like this was all intended to distract us from those things. Conspiracy theory, maybe. But it's very suspicious. That suddenly, as soon as people were like, where's the lists? This happens.
And the crazy thing is that recently I saw a post that said this: Gen Z has no idea that back in the 90s, basically everyone just got along with race and stuff. It's really bad they don't know firsthand that was possible. Right. I grew up in the 90s and no one gave a shit about race. In fact, when I was 19...
90s and pretty early 2000s and even into like the mid 2010s, we were all chilling. Everything was fucking fine. Like, the only time I ever heard people use the gamer word was in an Xbox Live lobby. You go... Like, my entire childhood was pretty much spent outdoors with other children of every other ethnicity. Bro, I would get out of school and I would go straight to the playground and I would wait for other kids to show up so that I could start a game of grounders or tag. Or even in the winter, I would go to the hockey rink and wait for kids so that we get a hockey game going. You know, you put the sticks in the middle, you throw the sticks, that's your team. There was never any racial divide or anything, not even a thought, man. These were just other kids I grew up with. Hell, my best friend Harley Zaroni is brown. He's still my best friend to this day. Now I just sound like I'm doing that stupid, I'm not racist, I got a brown friend shit. But, sorry, that's not the point I was trying to make. The point is, like, we grew up in an era where none of this was even a thought. And now we fast forward into quote unquote more civilized time, and suddenly it's the biggest issue. And this is why you're seeing people my age get so confused about this. And most of the people who are causing these problems are antisocial, violent, weird losers who had no friends in high school, have no friends now, and they fabricate this shit in their head. And there's so many of them now. It really fucking sucks. But there it is. That's the fucking truth. Everybody I socialize with is very open to most of these things. Hell, I just had a conversation the other day with someone I worked with who's going to be transitioning into a female. He's a great chef. He's been married to his husband for probably somewhere over a decade now. They're okay with it. He's an intelligent, rational thinking man. I don't see a problem with it. It's not like he's fucking 14. This guy's like fucking 37. If he wants to transition, fuck, go for it, bro. He's not hurting anybody. Again, it's just bad actors causing problems for everybody else. And the problem is the internet has given these bad actors the ability to gather and cause a lot of fucking damage. Racism. This was never even a concept in the 2000s. Fuck, if I said anything about a kid because of the skin of his color, my mom would have fucking whooped the shit out of me. Like, we don't fucking talk like this in this house. Get that shit out of your head right now. That's how most people I grew up were raised. Like, this is such a strange issue to me. I don't know why there's so many people that want to bring this shit back.
I worked at a job with a ton of black people. We all got along, and in the 2.5 years that I worked there, no one...
Fuck, bro, my first job when I was 14 was working at a gas station because my friend from Pakistan got me a job there. I had no problems working there. They never said anything racist to me. I didn't think anything racist about them. I filled gas. I got my paycheck. We made some jokes and shit. I got some free food sometimes. It was great. No problem, man.
No one brought up race. Racism was on life support, and we used to live in a country that was pretty free of racial prejudice until 2014 when colleges started performing CPR on racism by talking about microaggressions. But as I said, the good news is that everyone's getting tired of this.
It's almost like this entire thing was just fabricated by some fucking freaks. And I'm glad more people like this guy are speaking out about it. I'm gonna start speaking out about it more. Like, we need to roll this shit back. We need to not silence, but we need to we need to have our voices overheard from the psychos who are trying to create a narrative that's never even been there in order to weaponize racism. Bro, we were chilling for the first like 25 years of my life, and now I'm in my 30s, and it's just like, well, we're talking about a race war? Shit, man, what happened? We need to roll this shit back.
And I've also noticed a particular distaste coming from black people. In fact, despite how many racists there were donating to Carmelo Anthony and cheering on the death of a white kid.
And I will say that the internet and the social media is really good at making the very small percentage of loud minority bad actors look like a large majority. It's not. In fact, the percentage of black people who are probably on Carmelo Anthony's side who actively want to murder or ethnically cleanse white people is probably a fraction of a percentage. Now, a couple percent of millions is still a lot of people, but it's still an outlier. This shit could be rolled back, and we could remind each other, hey, you know, a couple million fucking retards on Twitter might look like a lot of people on screen, but in the grand scheme of the entire country, it's not a lot. Put them back in their place, re-educate them, and the rest of this goes away.
It was actually much easier for me to find black people criticizing all of this than any other race.
Makes my blood boil. Put that kid, Carmelo, put him under the jail. I don't want him to. I want his.
And what makes me mad is you got lots of men like this who are speaking out against the clear audacity as well, and then the people that they're speaking out against are just they're rolling them in with the rest of us, and they're like, well, fuck, fine. Guess you're not real black people. And it's just like, come on, man. Are you serious? If nobody can criticize you, I'm sorry. There's probably something wrong with what you're saying. Nobody's free from criticism in this world. We're all human. We're all stupid.
His life to be over, personally.
It's hard to put into words how upsetting this is, but I do not think Carmelo Anthony's bail should have been lowered from $1 million. In fact, I don't even think it should have been offered. I think he should be in jail right now.
Jeff McCabe had got swatted, 3 or 4 times? Threats sent to Hunter, his mom, but y'all make Carmelo out to be the victim?
Yeah, and if someone could tell me or find stories of the people who called in the SWAT going to jail, I would be much happier about this. The people who swatted this family deserve to be in jail too.
Victim and his family?
These aren't even all the black people that I found saying they were tired of all the race baiting and BLM excusing crime while trying to make criminals look like heroes.
This young man
Activism is starting to become a complete scam.
It's been a scam since BLM, brother.
Probably
BLM
was.
said,
It probably was before
BLM
that.
said, our mission is to destroy the nuclear family.
Right, BLM is
The
not your
nuclear
friend.
family.
They want to destroy black families. Do you know what happens to kids without a family structure? They get physically abused and sexually abused. They get put in gangs. They develop drug problems. This is terrible for black
And then they
people.
kill
like it would
more
be
people.
Terrible for any race. How can you say Black Lives Matter when you want to destroy black families? And really, the best middle finger we can give to all these grifting assholes is to get along and be friends. I think actually one of the people that I clipped earlier, who was a therapist, made a good point.
Sadly, many young people today have no conflict resolution skills. They're taught to fight. They're taught if one
100%. And it's not because they don't have. It's not just because they don't have conflict resolution skills. They have no social skills whatsoever. You got people thinking such minor things are just like a personal attack. You're taking an altercation as like an act to start a war. You're saying it's okay that a couple teenagers got into a bit of a beef and then one got murdered. These are people that have never actually had any real social interactions with any other people or had like any types of arguments. Most of their interaction has been behind a screen. That's the problem, Or that's a problem, sorry. That's not the problem, but that is one of the problems. You're not going to develop conflict resolution skills if you've never socialized.
One person touches you, you better double it. They say if they push you, make sure they don't get up from the fight. And this is such a prevalent mentality that I've seen in all races.
Well, it's that or cancel culture behavior where you get ousted from the group for making one misstep instead of talking it out with everyone. All of this is about conflict resolution. The worse we are at that, the more society will suck. The reality is that both the Shiloh and the Carmelo situations could have been easily solved.
Like, I'm not going to say this is good, but when I was growing up in middle school, kids got into shit all the fucking time. Bro, I got fucking picked on all the time. I got into so many fights. We didn't go on social media and try to systematically destroy their life. Bro, we beefed it out on the fucking playground, got bruised up a little bit, and shook hands the next fucking day.
With the most basic conflict resolution skills. Instead of calling the kid the N-word, Shiloh could have simply realized that kids of all races don't really have a strong sense of personal property until they hit a certain age, and with that idea in mind, she could have just said, hey, don't do that, and moved on with her life. As for Carmelo, all he had to do was say, oh, I'm under the wrong tent? My bad, I'll move. Easy. Everyone needs to calm down and handle conflict as politely as possible. Look to de-escalate and find peaceful solutions whenever they're available.
Yeah, and maybe don't go out of your way looking for trouble and then crying victim after you kill somebody because you started it. And to the people who are saying that this whole thing was justified because Carmelo Anthony was being bullied, hope you hope you have a wake-up call. Because, man, you sound stupid. You look real fucking dumb right about now.
We gotta care about each other. We gotta be kind to each other. You need to show compassion, show empathy, not anger, not rage.
And what's crazy to me is everybody is calling him the crazy one. That's what's wrong. I completely agree with this gentleman right here, who now has to grieve the loss of his son, just trying to say, can we all just get the fuck along? What happened to treat people the way you wanted to be treated? What happened to sticks and stones, break my bones, words don't hurt me? What happened to holding everybody accountable equally for their actions? Can we go back to that? That'd be so nice.
The world needs more kind people. If you can't find one, be one.
Stop being so hostile and start searching for common ground. That is how these big cultural issues will get resolved, and instead of looking for excuses to hate or dislike each other, we should be looking for excuses to get along.
Exactly, and stop taking every bit of criticism that you see or hear as a personal attack to your character. Bro, I get told to kill myself at least 5 times a week. You don't see me going out of my way to fucking do it. Get the fuck out of here. But I do listen to the criticism that I deem as actually, constructive. If you shut off all criticism and take everything as a personal attack, you're just gonna stay the small-minded piece of shit that you are.
Last, for everyone crying it's over, the race war has begun and there's no going back, realize that because there's so much agreement from all races right now, and because there's so much dislike of all the bad actors, this whole event between Shiloh and Carmelo could actually be one of the biggest moments of unity. Now is not the time to divide people based on race. It's time to work together to get rid of all the people who profit from when we fight each other. Anyway, thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you.
Yeah, exactly. And the people that are saying, like, this is going to start the next race war, and they're getting excited about this, you're probably going to not get your way. Sorry. There are way more rational thinking people than you think who are going to be speaking out against this. There's not going to be a race war. We're all going to look back on this just like we did with Black Lives Matter when people thought that was going to start a race war, and we're going to think this was fucking stupid. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about this today. Thank you. Think before you sleep. Like and subscribe to his channel. Great. More people need to talk about this. And don't get radicalized and talk bad about the other side. Again, the best way to deal with this is to hold everybody accountable equally. To stop fucking fighting amongst ourselves. And just go back to the fucking 2000s, man. Shit. Anybody want to go play some tag? Anyway, catch you in the next one.